Hello, this is Meghnad and you're watching Sansad Watch, where we tell you what the leaders you elected have been doing for you. Let's start with a story. This is Alwar, Rajasthan, and the year is 1985. Malnutrition and disease was a big problem in the city. An Ayurvedic doctor called Rajendra Singh was planning to set up a network of clinics to deal with it. He went to a place called Gopalpura where he was shocked to see that young people were abandoning their homes in droves and leaving old people behind. An old farmer came to him and told him that the real problem was not the lack of treatment but the lack of water. He told Rajendra that if they somehow fix the water problem, the young people who have left will come back. Singh was moved by this. He looked around to find an arid desert where industrialization had sucked up all the water out of the ground using bore wells. Women and children had to spend up to 10 hours a day fetching firewood and water. Rajendra Singh had an idea which would literally change his world. He left his practice and joined the Tarun Bharat Sangh, an organization dedicated to finding a balance between humans and natural resources. He and his colleagues started digging out a johad, which is a traditional community-owned percolation pond. 7 months later, they saw that the johad had 5 feet of water in it. Nearby dry wells started flowing again. So, taking the help of the people of Gopalpura, they dug more. 9 more johads later, the entire area had sufficient groundwater. It started becoming green again. Singh started getting requests from all over Rajasthan for help. Rajendra Singh is now known as the Rain Man of Rajasthan and also won the Magsaysay Award, the award most anti-nationals have been winning lately. He has brought back water to more than 1,000 villages and got water to flow again in all 5 major rivers in Rajasthan. He has so far helped build more than 8,600 johads and other structures to collect water for dry seasons. The forest cover in the state has increased by 1/3 because the water table has risen. Antelope and leopards, once a dying species, have returned to the region. It has also been one of the cheapest regenerations ever known. This story is important because in 2022, it's not just Alwar of 1985, but all of India that is currently facing a massive water crisis. We know Rajendra Singh has been doing a lot, but what is our government doing about it? First up, how bad is our water problem? In 2018, Niti Aayog released a report which put it super bluntly that 60 crore people face extreme water stress right now, and it's getting worse. That's about half of our population. 3/4 of our people don't have access to potable tap water. India is currently the largest extractor of groundwater in the world, and 70% of all our water sources are contaminated and polluted. The report says that 21 major cities in India, including Delhi, Bangalore, Hyderabad and Chennai, will run out of groundwater resources completely by 2021. Oh, wait, that was last year. So these cities have probably run out of groundwater already. And there are signs everywhere. Overall, between 2007 and 2017, groundwater levels across the country have dipped by 60%. If we don't do anything about it, by 2030, India will have only half of the amount of required water for human consumption. That's 8 years from now, and that's bad. No, bad. Just take a look at the places where the crisis is the most severe. This is the Dynamic Groundwater Resources of India categorization of assessment units as of March 2017. Basically, पानी का quality क्या है and crisis किधर है. So, white areas are safe, these blue areas are semi-critical, yellow are critical, and red are, oh my god, overexploited, so critical. That is a problem. All over the place this is a problem. Then the green ones in patches are saline, and hilly areas are not assessed. If you are living in any of these places, you should be asking your representatives what they are doing about this problem. So let me give you some ammo because hey, that's our job here at News Laundry. You pay to keep news free so that we give you information that is relevant to your lives. Subscribe. I'm going to wave this at your face today. Guess who this is? A. A Twitter troll. B. Old Tarak Mehta. C. Jal Shakti Minister. D. No clue, I only know Modi ji. The answer is C. Gajendra Shekhawat, who is the Jal Shakti Minister, who is responsible for the Shakti that Jal brings along with it. Hello, Mr. Shekhawat. What have you been up to lately? So, the central government has taken two main initiatives to conserve water. First one is Jal Jeevan Mission. This one aims to provide safe and adequate drinking water through individual household tap connections by 2024 to all households in rural India. Adequate supply means 55 liters of water per day per capita. So, how has this scheme been performing? Well, they have a very helpful website, genuinely helpful, which actually gives you the answers. As of recording this, out of 19.1 crore rural households in the country, tap water has been supplied to 9.5 crore. That's a little more than 50%. Let's put this in context. This is a Lok Sabha question which was answered on 24th of March 2022. So, when the scheme was launched, at that point, 3.23 crore, which is 17% of the households, had tap water connections. 5.99 crore rural households were added in 30 months after the scheme was launched. So, a total of 9.22 crore, which is 47.72%, have tap connections now. And the website shows over 50%. Okay, let's do some back of the envelope calculation. So, the 2024, which is the target year, is about 25 months away. Right? And then they said 30 months they increased it by 31%. So let's just assume the government is doing very well and they will add an additional 30%. So right now, given the 50% coverage, that will come to 80%. We are still 20% short. 20%. What, yaar, Shekhawat? 20%. Where is 20%? What, yeah? And now the ministry has to push the envelope to meet its target. Wait, isme hai kya? Oh, hey, look, it's Prahlad Singh Patel and Bishweshwar Tudu, the Minister of States for the Ministry of Jal Shakti. Ye bhi responsible hai iske saath. Nice. Thank you, producers. Now, keeping Shekhawat ji aside, I can just move on with my friend Prahlad Singh Patel after telling you all these figures and leave you impressed at all the work that the government is doing. But I am not a Sarkari ad-run TV channel. Our parliamentary committee has actually found quite a lot of shortcomings in this project, in this scheme. Let me tell you about a few of them. This is the Standing Committee on Water Resources report of 2022-23, which was presented in March 2022. Chaitra 1944. Right. So one of the observation is there has been underutilization of funds under the Jal Jeevan Mission, JJM. They said that the initial 2021 budget allocation was 50,000 crore. Then it was reduced to 45,000 crore. But the actual expenditure, matlab kharch kitna kiya hai, was 28,200 crore. It says that 11 states, which are these states, have utilized only 50 to 75% of their total funds. And the committee is also surprised to note that bigger states have utilized below 25%. Okay, next observation. Third-party inspections. The government has empaneled third-party verification agencies to check the quality of work executed by implementing agencies. The committee are surprised to note that 14 states and union territories have not reported the details of empanelment. Moreover, the number of inspecting agencies engaged by the states are abysmally very low in comparison to the size of the states. Matlab, bolne ke liye they are saying 50% of the tap water connections are completed, but if there is no third party inspection and it is abysmally low, so is it true? Next observation, rural areas with contaminated water supply. So the committee noted that there are still 35,370 rural habitations in the country which are affected with water contamination. And out of those, only 2,017 habitations have been covered with community water purification plants, which is less than 6%. So out of all of these, only 6% have a community water purification plant. Final observation. The committee are happy to note that the laying of pipelines under the Jal Jeevan Mission Grameen is undertaken at a massive scale throughout the country for providing safe and clean drinking water to the rural masses. However, the committee note with concern that in several states after laying water pipelines, the damaged roads are not rehabilitated or repaired due to the negligence and carelessness on the part of the concerned authorities. बहुत खुदाई हो रही है, JCB से खुदाई. So, Tudu ji, पानी मांगता कि pothole free road मांगता? You can't get both. ये India है boss. Other than the Jal Jeevan Mission, which focuses on supply, the central government has another scheme called the Bhujal Yojana, which focuses on the source, groundwater recharging. I mean, if you don't have water stored, what are you supplying exactly? Garam hawa. Let's come to the Bhujal Yojana, which was launched in 2020. The goal for this scheme is to do community-led sustainable groundwater management, which can be easily scaled. The idea is to improve the management of groundwater resources in select water-stressed areas of Gujarat, Haryana, Karnataka, Madhya Pradesh, Maharashtra, Rajasthan, and Uttar Pradesh. These are the participating states as of now, and implementation of this scheme is expected to benefit nearly 8,350 gram panchayats in 78 districts in these states. This project has an allocation of 6,000 crore rupees, out of which 3,000 crore is a loan from the World Bank. The administrators of water-stressed districts are supposed to hold meetings and educate people about conserving water, plus figure out ways to recharge groundwater. And they're doing that from time to time. Basically, the government is going full NASA engineer Swades type and trying to figure out how to get communities to build common resources to revive groundwater. Now, scoured the internet to find out how this scheme has been performing, but we found few sporadic news articles about meetings being held here and there and plans being made, but there is no solid data on impact. You know what? I wish the research for this episode had been more straightforward, but it isn't. Over the years, successive governments have launched many schemes, but they are all essentially doing the same thing with different names. Imagine if a caterpillar went through the entire life cycle, but instead of emerging as a beautiful butterfly, it just came out as a fatter, larger, multi-headed caterpillar. That's how these schemes have evolved. There are so many missions that keep changing. The data is all over the place and there is really no clarity. It's difficult to keep the scheme straight because most of them discuss the same issues of supply, all in very bureaucratic language. And some websites are, well, blank. Take a look at this. This is the framework matrix of the Atal Bhujal Yojana. If you look at the data for Uttar Pradesh, it's mostly blank and they have already decided the achievements till 2025. 3 years into the future. To read this, you have to be this guy. Yeah, bizarre. Anyway, as if the research around the central government schemes wasn't enough of a mind-boggling experience, let's take a look at what states have been up to, because water is a state subject according to our constitution. Item 17 of the state list says that states are responsible for, quote, water, that is to say, water supplies, irrigation and canals, drainage and embankments, water storage and water power. To be fair to these, three men, tackling the water crisis is not easy. And these three men have a responsibility, but so do state administrators. And we need to look at only a few states to understand how every place has different sorts of problems. For instance, take a look at Assam. Every summer, Guwahati is affected by flash floods and heavy rainfall, but there is a water crisis. That's because the Guwahati Municipal Corporation supplies water to only 30% of the residents. According to their own website, only 40% of the residents have access to piped water. You know why? Terrible management. 40% of the water supply is just lost in leakages and is unaccounted for. It's all there. The website might as well have just said, yeah, we are like that only. The management by babus on the ground has been simply the worst. For instance, back in 2009, the Greater Guwahati Water Supply Project was sanctioned to utilize river water properly and increase supply in the city. 10 years later, it was not completed. Officials promised in 2019 before the elections that it would be done this year in 2022. Now it might be delayed even more. Meanwhile, Assam gets flooded every year. Magic. Okay, let's take another state, Tamil Nadu. The capital city, Chennai, gets twice the rainfall London does and 4 times that of Los Angeles. Yet in 2019, it ran out of water. Why? Because between 1893 and 2017, due to rapid urbanization, the water bodies in and around the city shrank by 75%. Yes, 75%. That's nuts. In 2003, the state government made it compulsory for all buildings to have rainwater harvesting. But then they had a few good years of monsoon and nobody followed it up. In 2021, a survey showed that rainwater harvesting structures were left neglected by officials and residents both. Meanwhile, Chennai also gets flooded. There is another problem. Contamination and pollution. In 5 industrial districts of Tamil Nadu, water quality has been steadily going down due to presence of heavy metals like cadmium, lead and chromium. So, in places where there is water, it is not fit for human consumption. Okay, last state, Madhya Pradesh. The situation is so bad that in a village in Barwani district, men are going through a serious dry patch. Because A, pani nahi hai, B, no women want to get married to them, and C, the married women are going back to their maternal homes because, well, pani nahi hai. Even Bhuvan can't solve this one. At least 70 municipal bodies in Madhya Pradesh are receiving water intermittently after a gap of 2 to 3 days. Borewells along the banks of Narmada are drying up and the water is massively contaminated with nitrate. To fix this, the government went No. They attempted to divert water from Narmada to a smaller river called Shipra, which runs through towns like Devas. Now, Devas has a water problem and it is estimated that 60% of the businesses there have shut down and moved. Oh, and this river linking business is not just not happening, work in progress, etc. only in Madhya Pradesh. It is actually not happening, work in progress all across the country. The Modi government wants to build 30 canals and 3,000 small and large reservoirs to link Himalayan rivers with peninsular rivers so that excess water can be diverted. These canals will collectively be around 15,000 kilometers long. Yeah. Simply put, this is a disaster in the making because it is literally impossible to estimate the long-term effects of taking water from one place and diverting it to another. Why? Because the places where you take water from will have less water, causing uncontrolled ecological disasters like Devas in Madhya Pradesh. And I won't even get into the problems caused by mixing 2 ecosystems together. That's a thing, by the way. The water crisis that India is facing is not here. It's right here, and it's about to get worse. Every state has different problems which need to be dealt with differently. Not just because of climate change, but also because of industrialization, pollution, infrastructure projects, bureaucratic incompetence, and stuff like that. Seriously, why doesn't someone fill these tables, goddammit? There are 3 of you! 3! Just do your jobs! I wish I could say we are in hot water, but I can't because we are in hot air. That's all I have for you in this week's Sansad Watch. Turn on your taps, and if you have garam hawa coming out of it 5 days a week, share this episode with other people who have the same problem. Let them see what a mess we are in, because remember, if you want to make Parliament great again, you need to watch it first.
The subscription model is something that keeps News Laundry afloat, but we need hundreds of thousands of people to completely transform the news ecosystem. So you pay for news, so it serves you. So click on the link with this video, subscribe to News Laundry and pay to keep news free, और गर्व से कहो मेरे खर्च पर आज़ाद है खबरें.